Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. Today I'm going to show you how to make a snowflake ornament with just a few simple materials. You'll need some white felt that you will be cutting into two 4-inch circles, a needle felting brush and a needle felting tool, a pair of scissors, some wool yarn, a threaded embroidery needle, and some roving. First, you're going to take your first circle and put it flat on the brush so that the brush is in the center of your circle. I have cut some of my wool yarn into 3 different lines, and this is going to be the body of our snowflake. I'll place the first part of my snowflake flat on the brush, make sure that my needle felting tool is unlocked, and I'll start to go up and down to pierce the felt with the wool yarn. Make sure that it's unlocked and gently pierce the wool yarn. The goal of this is to not jump too hard up and down with your needle felting tool, but to really focus on how many times you are going to be felting this to the felt. You never want to keep your hands on the felt while you're felting. Notice how my left hand is placed on the table, but when I'm adjusting it, I'm making sure that my tool is far away. I'll take my other pieces of yarn and place them diagonal, but as I do that, I'm actually rotating my circle so that I have a lot of room to work with. After you've placed it on there, you can begin to continue felting. It's really important that when you're felting, you're only ever using your tool on the brush. So for example, right here, my piece of felt is kind of hanging off of the brush. So I'm going to lift it and move it so that it's no longer hanging off. The goal of the felting is to really make sure you're piercing every single part of your wool yarn so that it really pierces through the felt. When you peel it off, you can see that it's actually growing like a bit of grass on the back, and that's exactly what we want. Next, you'll place your last piece of wool yarn on the felt and continue to felt it. Because snowflakes are pretty straight in nature, you do not want a really curved line, which is why you'll notice that I have gone in and really adjusted the straightness as I move through the craft. Almost done with this step. This also makes a great coaster for your cup of hot cocoa if you'd like. It doesn't have to be an ornament. We're just about done with the felting, and you can see the entire front matches the back. Excellent. Now I'm going to take some of my roving, and similar to working with clay or something similar to clay, any kind of like dough or any kind of craft clay, you'll roll it into a ball with your hands, and that is going to make a shape. So the shape that I want for the tips of my snowflake are little circles. So I'll place this on the brush, and I'm going to continue to felt this on. You can play around with the sizes. I want mine to be a little smaller, so I'll just move it and really carefully continue to felt. Luckily, there is a guard on your needle felting tool, but you don't want to really rely on that when you put your fingers on the brush. That looks good to me. We'll do the same thing with another ball of roving. And you're going to continue to do this the entire way around the points of your snowflake. The tighter you roll it, the more circular it'll be, and you will not have to really do as much adjusting on the felt as if it were not as tight in your hand. I barely had to adjust that one. I'm going to go back to this one, make it a little neater. This is the perfect activity for a snowy day. You can keep checking to see that it matches the front when you flip it over to the back. I'll roll 2 balls to save me some time. And this makes for a great holiday gift for a friend, a parent, family member. Everything is better when it's handmade. Okay, super cute. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the other circular piece of felt. We're going to continue our ornament with some more whip stitches. We'll bring the needle back to the back of the ornament and continue with whip stitches all the way until you reach where you started with any stitches. To avoid any knotting, you can place your finger between where your yarn is coming up, and that should help you avoid any kind of tangling or accidental knotting. You'll notice that I have another threaded needle off to the side. We are going to use that in our next step when we finish up the ornament. Always be mindful when you are sewing with thread of any kind that you're leaving yourself enough thread or floss to do a balloon knot at the end. If you do not leave yourself with enough, you may need to undo some stitches in order to do the balloon knot and keep it nice and secure. So now that I've made my way around the entire ornament, we're going to come to the back and stick the needle underneath any of the close stitches, and you're going to want to place the needle underneath just the embroidery floss, but not the felt. I'm pulling until I have a balloon shape. I'm going to pop the balloon with the needle and pull. Now that this is secure, I'm going to take my scissor and snip any extra floss. To hang your ornament, you're going to need a loop. You can use embroidery floss if you want to use ribbon or any kind of yarn that you have around the house. That's fine as well. I'm going to take the needle and figure out at which point I'd like to be the top of my ornament. I think I want the balloon knot on the bottom because it's less noticeable, so this will be the top of my ornament. I'm going to take the needle and stitch between the 2 layers of felt. You may need to take a close look because our whip stitches have kept the felt nice and close. Make sure that you're sewing through both layers. You can snip the tail off at the beginning or at the end of your crafting. Just be sure to not forget that if you do it at the end. Now that I've sewn through both layers with my embroidery floss, I'm going to come in through the back, and I'm not going to stitch through both layers of the felt this time. I'm going to make a tiny, tiny stitch underneath where our knot is, and I'm going to pull until I have a loop that fits just around my forefingers, like so. After you've done this, what you're going to do is bring the loop to the front of the ornament and place your thumb over the loop to secure it. You don't want this to move during this step. With the needle, I'm going to come back near that stitch and pull. Make sure you bring any extra floss as you pull securely. Now that we made that extra stitch, what we're going to do is bring the needle underneath that stitch to do a balloon knot. As you pull, be mindful of the loop. We're going to pop this, and then we pull again. You can give it a few tugs to make sure that it's nice and secure and tight, but as I pull the loop that will be hanging our ornament, it's not moving, so I know that I'm ready to cut this off. And there you have it, a snowflake ornament ready for the holidays. Thanks for watching.